I'm going to talk through something that I think a lot in my day-to-day life, and I want to know if anyone else thinks in a similar way. So we are not our thoughts, right? I personally have a lot of thoughts that are just kind of out of my control. Like they'll just pop up in my mind randomly and I had no control over it. A lot of the times when I'm in public, that comes out in the form of thinking rude things about strangers or like the people around me. And they're like usually not very tame. Like I'll think some really crazy stuff about people. To the point where sometimes I have been genuinely shocked by my own brain and what it has come up with. And I'll be left wondering if I can still consider myself a good person after what I just thought about this complete stranger. Putting that topic aside briefly, several years ago, I decided that there's someone out there who can read minds. I don't actually remember how I came to this conclusion. It could have been something from paranoia, it could have been something else, I'm not sure. And while chances are there probably is not a mind reader, there's a part of me that can't help but think that maybe someone could do it. Back to the first topic. Sometimes when I'm out and I randomly think of something rude about a stranger, they'll have some kind of reaction to it, or at least seem to. And it usually freaks me out the most when you can't tell what they could be reacting to otherwise. Like for example, I might be getting into an elevator and there might be an overweight person in there. And when my inner monologue inevitably comes up with something along the lines of, damn, this guy fat, the person might in that moment like look up at me or have their expression change to one that looks sadder. And in my head, I will question if they might be the mind reader and they might have just read my mind as I insulted the shit out of them. And then they might not have been the mind reader, but better safe than sorry. Now I'm in my head apologizing. Like think explaining and justifying how like these thoughts might just pop up and they're not me, and like apologizing to this person who probably isn't reading my mind. Even though their seemingly saddened reaction was probably just a coincidence and timing, it's enough to make me genuinely paranoid and feel guilty about what I just thought about this person. Anyways, I want to know in the comments if any of y'all can relate to this, or if anyone's had any thoughts or experiences like this, because I know I'm not the only one. Alright, that's the ramble for the day over. Now let's get started talking about this drawing. As you can see, I'm just getting started filling out my clipping layers, starting to put in base colors. For those who don't do digital art, what a clipping layer is essentially it makes it so that I can only color within that area. So that's what these bright purples and greens are. It essentially makes it so when I go back in with color, it'll only go on the green part, so I won't color outside the lines. They can be kind of tedious and take a little while to set up, but they are pretty useful and will end up streamlining the process way later in painting. For the drawing subject itself, I wanted to go for like a desolate, post-apocalyptic kind of feel with a little bit of like a futuristic kind of vibe to it. But with the futuristic part, I still wanted everything to kind of feel like homemade and almost bushcrafty. So there's actually a lot in the drawing to suggest the craftsmanship of the figure, such as the tools or like the blueprint or the fact that he's actively working on his own leg. I really tried in this drawing to do a lot of world building. I wanted to feel like you could come up with your own adventure that this guy would go on, and it would feel like it would make perfect sense in the environment that I presented to you. I wanted to make this drawing feel alive, and I really wanted the garage space to feel like inhabited. As far as composition goes, I knew that I wanted an interior space leading into an exterior. This not only helps to guide your eye across the page and take you through the whole drawing, but it also lets me practice my environments and backgrounds, which is personally something I struggle with, especially in digital art. I also thought that the interplay between a cool interior of a garage and a warmer exterior of like a deserty outside would give some cool contrast to the drawing. And this also lets me utilize a wider color palette, as I can use some blues and purples inside and more like oranges and reds and warm tones outside. I personally had quite a bit of fun with this drawing, and while there are some parts of it that I'm not as happy with as I had hoped, I think that overall I quite like how this turned out. This is my first YouTube video, so be nice in the comments, but please let me know where I can improve. I have some other content planned, so hopefully I'll end up posting some other videos. And finally, here's the finished drawing without that ugly iBiz paint time-lapse watermark thing.